Yeah, now.
Yeah.
Used to it. Hey, Mom, how you doing out there?
So we actually wanted to make sure you introduced some people that came along with you.
Oh, well, I have a couple of members of the band, Billy Bass, who was the first bass player in the group. Ron Ford, who's my brother. We've been in the band forever. For years. My wife, Ron's wife, his daughter, Chrissy. Oh yeah, Mom over there. Did you go to school, your Mom?
So I want to start by taking us back to you growing up in D.C. As I was reading your book.
Yeah, but I was only there for a year or two.
Yeah.
About 5 years old.
And then you said your dad moved you all to New Jersey.
Right, he moved us from Virginia, Chasing, Virginia, to New Jersey in like 1950.
Okay. And while I was there, you were doing a number of things, but you started a barbershop.
Well,
you took over a barbershop.
Well, first, let's put it like this. Frankie Lyman came out with Why Do Fools Fall in Love?
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be a singer. So if you was going to be a singer back in those days, you had to have your hair cut. You had to have the waves in your hair. So in order to do that, we had to learn to do each other's hair.
Right.
So they put me right in the barbershop. I became a clean-up person, and that was in Newark, New Jersey. So I had the barbershop in Newark, went out to Plainfield, New Jersey, where I met this little kid about 11 years old, where I met knocking over little kids' bikes and things. And we were there for 5 years, but we did, I Just Want to Testify, What Your Love Has Done For Me. That was the first hit record. Billy Bass and myself worked that out. But I went from that to Motown, to Joe Beck. I used to write for them every day in New York, and back and forth to Detroit.
Yes. So that's all I want to take the trajectory to you going back and forth to Detroit from Jersey. Because in the book you were talking about how you came up with the name Parliament.
Yeah.
Most people didn't know because all the groups had to have a name.
Parliament. He didn't say Funkadelic. Parliament. All the groups had names like cars, like Impalas, and a lot of groups had cigarettes, Chesterfields and all of that. So I just picked a corny pack of cigarettes. I didn't even smoke. I just said Parliament, and that was it.
Right.
That was the name from then on.
So you talk about when you all started Parliament, it was you and a couple of guys from your neighborhood, and so you said you wanted to emulate the Motown sound, the Motown look. So you all dressed alike and drove to Detroit and waited to perform for Berry Gordy.
Yeah, the audition. It was Martha Reeves of the Vandellas.
Yeah.
She auditioned us, and we was out there with our new suits on and auditioned. And they told us, well, y'all good, but we got Temptations already. we got the Four Tops already. So we had to go back home and start all over and do something different.
And that's when you started, but they saw something in you, and they...
As a songwriter.
Right.
As a songwriter, they thought the songs had, hooks, clever hooks, because Smokey was my idol, always has been. Him and Sly Stone. So they liked the songs. So I started writing for Joe Beck. I wrote a song, Shake It Loose, the Supremes did. One called I Bet You, the Jackson 5 did.
Right.
So I had a few songs, but when Testify became a hit, we was on our own. That was a different label, so now we was a competition for Motown. And immediately I realized that getting a hit single is going to be hard all the time.
Right.
And I was watching Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and all those groups from England. They were coming out with albums. So we decided to go make a group called Funkadelic, which was Billy Bass and the band, who was our backup band at the time. We couldn't use our name Parliament for legal reasons, so we became their backup singers. So you know what that was like. Your little brother's becoming your boss. You know, but I had to do it that way. That was our only way out. We had to bite it, eat it, and just subject ourselves to them.
Right.
I could do it because I was writing the songs and promoting, producing the records. The other part of the band is wanting to kick their butt all the time, every day. You know, so that's how we worked that out.
So you talk about your first single, "Testify." I want to testify. I listened to it, and before I listened to it, I was like, oh, this must be a gospel song. But then when I listened to it, that's not really a gospel song. But
you got love in there.
You got love, right? But what was the inspiration for that song? Because I remember reading your inspiration.
The inspiration was more lyrical, you know, trying to make certain words into a song, because I realized all of a sudden that it was about lyrics that you didn't ordinarily use. So inquisitive friends was the line that I wanted to find a way to use that in a song.
Right.
Now, I Want to Testify was a hook that we knew was a hit. We sang that 24 hours. The first night, Billy strumming on the guitar. So we had the hook. We knew that was "I just want to testify what your love has done for me." We knew that was there. But the song, inspiration from the lyrics, was I wanted to use friends, inquisitive friends. Now, we didn't talk like that in the hood. But I was trying to find some new language, you know, and that's how that one, you know, trying to keep up with Smokey Robinson, you had to make the puns, you know, back and forth, wordplay. You had to have 2 or 3 meanings. When I realized that's what it took, I had 5 and 6 meanings in my songs. They ain't got nothing to do with each other, other than the fact that they sound alike. I guess they got like harmoniums or something. I've been out of school a long time.
So you talked about touring for the first 10 years, and in the book you say, it had taken us 10 years to get our first record out, a full decade to get a hit, and the music world was evolving faster than anyone knew. At one show, I was outside the club, waiting for the rest of the band to arrive, and I heard an older woman talking to her husband. "There ain't nothing but a guitarist, a drummer, and an old fool," she said. "But they're pretty good. An old fool, we need an infusion of new energy and reinvention, and soon." So when you heard that,
I heard this like listening into the future, because I still hear that now, an old fool. But this was like, I guess I was 23 or so when that heard. I was an old fool then. You know, and mainly because of the way we clown, the way things we wore, we were wigs and pads and our titties and old dresses. I mean, we did everything right from the beginning.
right?
You know, we started off neat and cool, and because we knew how to make people cool, so we knew what cool looked like, but we didn't want that. We wanted to be funky like we saw the Rolling Stones, they coming over there. We know how to be bummy looking. We grew up that way. Hippies became the thing.
Right.
So we said, why am I spending all this money on suits? We couldn't even keep them clean. We lose the ties. Our ties wasn't the length. So I said, forget it. I grabbed a Holiday Inn towel, made a diaper out of it. I took the sheet from the Holiday Inn, cut holes in it, took off all my clothes up under that, and I go around flashing people, you know. But that was fun, you know. But then I realized years later, that do work. Especially if you jump back and forth.
Right.
You know, people don't know if he's crazy or he's being slick.
Right.
You know, we did both of them. By the time we got to the mothership, we had $10,000 leather costumes.
Right.
Y'all weren't supposed to know nothing about that. But we came from that.
Right.
We did that first. I mean, the barbers look like pimps. We got the preachers, the pimps, and the politicians that come in the barbershop look just alike. And you know, that was our thing. We knew that. But when it came time to entertain people, you had to have all kind of images. I mean, we didn't even agree in the group Howard and Ray would still be in their suits. And I'm standing next to them taking a picture in a dirty diaper. You know what I mean? I don't think Calvin even wanted to be near us. You know, and that went on for years, year in and year out. We changed all kind of styles. But then when you go to the mothership, like I said, we spent a lot of money on the spaceship itself, by the way, which is in the Smithsonian Institute now. Along with the Tuskegee Airmen's plane.
That's the mothership.
The mothership it's going to be in there starting the beginning of next year.
So I want to talk about your meeting with Bootsy Collins, because you talked about initially he was touring with James Brown, and there was a falling out or something about money.
It always is. Yeah, at that time the band, I guess, Maceo, Fred Wesley, Maceo Parker, Bootsy brought him to us too later on. But at that time, Maceo and them had quit James Brown and went out on their own, the JBs. And he called Bootsy them in. And Bootsy and them went in. I guess they played with it for like 6 months. And they did all that, Payback and Sex Machine and all those records. Bootsy them did that, him and his brother Catfish. And I guess they stayed there almost a year, 6 to 8 months. And then Bootsy, Maria Franklin, one of the girls in Parlette, said, George, you got to meet this guy Bootsy. He looked like a Funkadelic. So we went to, played in Cincinnati, and we stopped by to see his group. It was called the House Guests at the time. They looked like us, but they still sounded similar to James Brown. So, making a long story short, we just kidnapped Bootsy. And he played with Funkadelic for a minute. But Bootsy was a Bootsy. He wasn't a Funkadelic. You know, he'd be in the back, but still people were going to be looking, trying to see him because he got that image. So I said, well, we got to get him a group, get his own group. But I like what he did with us. So I said, if you help me do Parliament tracks, I'll help you get your group out there. So we did the record Chocolate City, which was the first Boots, well, I put it down so it was the first one, but Chocolate City was where he was dominant. He got that one off, so the very next record was, for us, was Mothership, but along with that, we did one on Boots called Stretching Out in a Rubber Band. Those two records came out together. So from then on, we were stuck. It was not only Parliament Funkadelic, but now you got Bootsy, Rubber Band, and we got 2 more people in this band that could just be no background musicians, which was Fred Wesley and Maceo Parker, which was, you always hear James Brown say, Maceo! You know, they were stars already. So now you got Bootsy and the Horny Horns. So I said, well, might as well not stop there. We got girls in the group who want to be stars too. They're going to be on your nerve if they don't do something. So we had Parlette, 3 of those girls, and then the other 2 girls was the Brides of Funkenstein, which was the 2 girls used to sing with Sly Stone, Lynn and Dawn. So right away now we're 25 people. 25, and then they have to have a band. So it ended up about 70 some people. When we went on tour with the Mothership, we had 4 buses, 2 semi-trailers, and a ton of new cars.
I want to talk about the philosophies around your themes and your music and albums, which tend to be very crucial, especially to Black cultural identity, Afrofuturism. I was reading the book you said, when we made our second Funkadelic album, Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. It dealt with lots of things that were in the era at the time, issues of social control, self-awareness, the failure of intellectuals to connect their utopian philosophies to what was actually happening on the street. To me, all the social and psychological content seemed funny, especially the most serious ideas, life, death, social control. And when you stayed there, hanging in the space between comedy and tragedy, between reality and surreality, a kind of wisdom started to come through you. And then you don't want to say you started reading books, and you read this book, Black Power books, novels, said pulpy shit. underground comics and then all those bestsellers. But one of the most influential books was Chariots of God.
The Chariot of the God. That's one of those books from the 60s, you know, all the psychedelic and all the information coming from the kids. We were older than most of them, but we would watch what they were talking about, what they were reading. And Chariot of the Gods was particularly, you know, because I said, why would somebody embalm somebody to last that long? And for what was that all about? Then when I read the part about, they didn't have the words cloning yet. That was around, but that was the idea. They had those notions in there that maybe they could clone something or plants, flowers, and make it, you know, rejuvenate later. So I said, if maybe that was on their mind. Maybe they knew about some of that. So those kind of theories started coming into my mind, even back in the 60s. But by the time we got to 70s, we did Mothership. The next album was called The Clones of Dr. Funkenstein. That's because you read the other part where I found the book where it was about cloning people. And I remembered, wow, that's what the Chariot of the Gods was talking about. Went back and got that book again. Then I did the album Clones of Dr. Funkenstein. I made my own little cover where I had the Afro wigs on and of the girl and the guy. All of it was me, but they were supposed to look like me. Even the doctor who was messed up, but the clone hair went wrong. You know? So that book had me a long ways in the theories of what the Egyptian was doing with all of that. Just what my thoughts on it. And it did take about 6 months after I did the book for that sheep called Dolly. If anybody remember that, they cloned the sheep. Then I thought, wow, you might know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't think I know what I'm talking about. I had no thoughts about being smart. I just know how to put concepts together and make some out of it. But the more over the years, people bring the lyrics to me, did you mean this? Sound good to me? Yeah, I meant that. And pretty soon, it actually educated myself. Maybe it was coming through. I don't know. I don't claim to be smart. Not that kind of smart. But I do know that those things make sense somewhere. You know, and like I said, people got more out of it than I was putting in it. But it was able to teach me what probably somewhere in the back of my head, we all know. I think our DNA know all of this. You know, that's the way I see it now. You know, we just have to bring it back to the forefront of our awareness. But as far as doing, I was out of my mind. Everybody know my history.
I don't want to get too far ahead because we want to talk about human slides.
Yeah, you have to stop me because I get started.
But it goes back to Cosmic Slop when you did that album. And you said which was a deep, funky song about a woman who turns to prostitution to support her family. So, but everyone else, like you said, was taking other meanings from it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was trying to find those kind of theories that you could talk about socially, that maybe there's other ways to look at it. And like prostitution was one of them. I was, I'm one of 5, born to my mother, an older sister, and 3 young brothers. She seen it hard, she seen it kind of rough. You know, but it was about her talking to God, praying not to punish her because she had to go out and prostitute to feed him. That's a hell of a dilemma, excuse my word. That's a dilemma. But it's a reality of the day. So I said, just write a song about it. No, you know, don't say it out clear, but just vaguely say it and see if people get it. Most people are getting it now. Took a long time for it to sink in over a few generations. Now people, are you going to do Cosmic Slop? And I'm like, that wasn't even a hit. We just played it so much that I guess we drilled it in over the years. And now a lot of people think, wow, that's a deep song. But it was actually common thing that people talk about in the barbershops.
So the barbershop was a very influential place for you.
Oh yeah, the barbershop was where you heard all the information. The older barbers, made you feel bad. I mean, I have to watch my language, but they made you feel bad because they had so much knowledge, and they call it mother wit. They can put it just so simple that you feel stupid for calling yourself being mad at something. They look at each other through the mirror. One guy down there, hey, I think we upset. Talking about you. You know, you come in there, maybe we think too much about ourselves, huh? The conversation over your head and you realize they talk about you. You know, that kind of stuff gave you another kind of intelligence. The preacher, they get in there and they get to arguing, you know, not arguing, but discussions in barbershop. Just like you see in the movie Friday and all that. That's just how we do in the barbershop. They have ideas they're going to argue about from the street level all the way to like I said, to the church. You got all of that in the barbershop every day. And we had superstars that come in there with the nonsense. Some were just so good with the BS that they even made sense to you.
So I want to talk about the Mothership Connection, the album. Can you say the concept for Mothership Connection? We went even further afield and imagined a black man in space. Joyce Bogart, Neil's wife, had a slightly more limited idea of the concept, which was that a ship had come down from outer space and landed in the ghetto. In fact, that's what she wanted to call it, landing in the ghetto. In their mind, there was a black liberation dimension, alien beings coming down to save all the poor people. I saw it differently. To me, it was pimps in outer space, the spaceship as a kind of high-tech Cadillac. Space was a place, but it was also a concept, a metaphor for being way out there the way that Jimi Hendrix had been. Imagining this record in space was imagining artistry unbound before it was recalled to Earth.
Yeah, but you know, after Chocolate City, we had imagined a black president, Stevie Wonder, Richard Pryor, the whole cabinet. But I say, okay, we've got that, black people, yeah, but let's take it even further. Because the only person you saw in outer space was, what's her name, Uru on Star Trek? Unless you call the Klingons or the other one. You know, but other than that, you didn't see nobody of us up there. So sitting on that little spaceship, which was the one from the day the Earth stood still, that's the real prop from that movie. Sitting on that, you know, macking with the big high boots on, it was like a 70s, I call them clown pimps at that time, because by that time everybody was wearing the big, you know, afros and big hats, and, you know, it wasn't like the 50s where you had to have tailor-made suits and all that for real. You know, doing it like that was like having blacks in outer space for the first time. Nobody hadn't even imagined that.
Right.
And that was my intention. Then after that, we had to add to it with the Doctor and the Star Child and all of that. But the whole thing grew as we made each album, all the way to Underwater. When we did the Motor Booty Fair, same thing. Now we're going underwater. Now I'm finding out there's a tribe in Africa that they actually went under the water to live. I don't know if anybody knows those stories, but there's theories about that. And I'm like, maybe I am deep.
So what do you think now of the concept when you say the mothership and how blacks in space? You could, in the book you do talk about you being a sci-fi fan.
Oh yeah, I love Star Trek, Star Wars, all of that. But beyond that, I believe that like we get ready to try to see the universe with DNA and life. I don't think that's the first time that ever happened. I mean, that's just my opinion. I just feel like somebody might have came here and did it. Most likely did. I'm positive that happened. We call it God or whatever other name we call supreme beings. It all seemed to be the same thing. We look up and we pray up there. And so I got a feeling that somewhere in our DNA, we know something.
I want to talk about the One Nation Under the Groove.
There you go.
I'm glad you're talking about that one because that's the one that we're having the most problem with right now. With people trying to steal the copyrights from us. So let's talk about that one.
You said the title of the song, you said you was at just finished the concert, and you said in DC, the girls LaTanya and Darlene came up to the car.
I just seen them.
They said that was the greatest concert we've ever seen. And they said it was like One Nation under a groove.
And I went straight to the studio. I went straight to the studio for new equipment. I gave them their percentages, you know what I'm saying? We gave all their names all over but that song, that title, we went straight to the studio, bought equipment and played it. Probably the last song that we played as a band at the same time. That was a weird one, and we call it Holy Grail. That's the Holy Grail of the funk. One Nation and Knee Deep. Those two are the ones we're fighting for right now. Taking it all the way to the Supreme Court. Our own lawyer is suing us for $1.5 million and holding that song as a hostage. And we had him fight other people trying to get the thing. He ended up doing it. So now we fighting all the way to the Supreme Court, a law firm, the record companies, and the publisher, and BMI. We fighting all of that. One Nation is the song.
So One Nation actually propelled you all, like you said, to a whole other stratosphere. You toured with that.
Yeah, well, we was already out with the mothership for like 3 years, with the mothership, and then right when we got ready to come off the road, the rest, we put out a Funkadelic record, which was One Nation, and we hadn't even thought about it. We just did it and put it out there because we didn't have the kind of confidence in that company that we had in Casablanca because Neil was a promotion man. He helped by the hype. The mothership was a hype. He didn't mind doing that. The other record company didn't do that. But Funkadelic being on tour with Parliament got promotion from the mothership too. So when One Nation came out, it took right off. We didn't know what to do. We didn't even have costumes ready for that. So what we did, we call it the anti-tour. We went to all of Army and Navy stores. That's when the fatigues was only like $2 or $3 a piece. After about a month of that, they went up to $30. Because we had everybody around the country wearing One Nation outfits. We went out on a tour called the Anti-Tour. We played little small clubs. The bride was headlining, and we were there to support that. No mothership, no roadies, no limos. Because we had been out there 3 years of touring. So now we had to do something just for the record. Didn't matter, it worked anyway. The One Nation look became our thing. Uncle Jam's Army was the next record. Uncle Jam.
So I want to read something, and of course everyone will get to tune into this. So the spontaneity of the lyrics didn't mean that they weren't considered. Dogs had a long history in soul music, stretching back to the great string of Rufus Thomas singles in the early 60s. The dog, walking the dog, the monkey do the dog, somebody stole my dog. I was thinking about how those combine comedy and soul, but also how they connect to other common phrases. Treat them like a dog, dog day afternoon, it's a dog's life. What did those sayings mean exactly? That men had instincts that couldn't be suppressed?